Gabby.
Welcome everybody. On behalf of YWAM Honolulu, we want to welcome everybody back home. Welcome home. Because I think I know just about every person in this room, except for a few exceptions, maybe a spouse or two. But it's really great to see everybody's faces. Some of you guys look a little bit different than I remember you, but time marches on.
That the children of Israel could go
know that I heard about what you did that day, and I wanna get to know you that way. Heard about how you stopped the sun so that Joshua could get his work done. And you know that I heard how you won the battle on that day, and I wanna get to know you that way. Can you help me say I wanna get to know you? I really wanna know. I wanna get to know you. Well, I wanna get to know you, and I wanna get to know you that way. Heard about how you went in the lion's den the day they put both Daniel in, and they say that you locked the lion's jaws, so we never had supper that day, and I wanna get to know you that way. I wanna know you in the fellowship of your suffering, in the power of the resurrection, and in the same way you got up on that third day when the rapture comes. Well, I wanna get to know you that way. Can you help me say I wanna get to know you? I really wanna know. I wanna get to know you. Well, I wanna get to know you, and I wanna get to know you that way.
This is an old one. Some of you remember this. The lady, or it's not an acronym. I mentioned this morning, the unsolved murder of Anvil Head, the bass guitar.
If we have listened and obeyed and followed the Spirit, we've all been placed. And see God. Talk about it like it was God. Honor it. That's what we need to be doing in this 20th anniversary, is yes, we want to talk about the people because people are important. But we want to talk about the sovereignty of God in us.
Of God's faithfulness. And as I think of those 20 years and what God has done, then I look into your faces, some of you that have already been a part of that 20 years, but I'm looking into faces that are just starting out. And we want to say to you that you're going to do greater things than we have done. Do I get a kiss with that? You sure do. All right. Thank you.
110 out on the field. And we couldn't get all their pictures so that we could flash them up during the song to pray for them. So we're just going to flash up their names and where they're serving the Lord out in different parts of the world. I was just talking to Bob backstage, and I said, when did you write Healing to the Nations? He said he wrote it in the fall of 1980, which was exactly when the first Honolulu DTS, Discipleship Training School, was started. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But most of you have heard the Healing to the Nations song. It never gets old to me. It's one of my favorite songs, where we talk about God's called us to take the healing power of Jesus Christ to the
hear a child crying. I see tears of unending pain. I've watched as war-torn nations treated life with such disdain. My heart grieves to know that these haven't come to understand that I suffered for all of their sufferings, and I died that they might live again. Take my healing to the nations, bind their broken hearts with love. Stretch my hand throughout creation with this message of my love, that I came to bring light in their darkness, to bring joy where there once was pain. Take my healing to the nations, bind their broken hearts with love. Can you see that the fields are ready for harvest, but the laborers, there are so few? Countless millions still my heart longs to fill, but the task isn't mine to do. I gave you this commandment, go and preach good tidings of love, for I finished all the work on Calvary, and their healing's already been done.
Get up. You don't quit. That's the big deal. And so if you want my secret to my life, whatever that's worth, I don't know, but don't quit. Don't quit.
Someone once wrote, "The history of every century begins in the heart of a man or a woman. And if within that heart lies the vision of the Lord, then the history that is made will be eternal." The book of Proverbs tells us that where there is no vision, the people perish. And it was when a young man named Lorne Cunningham saw, in his mind's eye, a literal vision of waves crashing on the seashores of all the continents of the world, that the seeds for Youth with a Mission was planted. Now, in his vision, the waves were transformed into young people who were moving out preaching the gospel on every continent. It was then, in 1960, that the history of Youth with a Mission had begun, and the vision that God had given Lorne was born. 20 years later, in the beautiful valley of Manoa, Kalafi Moala, a young evangelist from Tonga, moved in a small group of young people and began the work of Youth with a Mission Honolulu.
But we came up here to Manoa Hillsides, and we were in this 6-bedroom house here. I think there was somewhere between 22 and 26 of us. And we had our lectures right here in this garage right up here that you can see on the top of the hill. And as you can see, the neighbors are all around, and so we had to do our clapping like this. So not only could we not have drums and guitars or anything like that, we just had to have one acoustic guitar and keep the noise really down, so we were always trying to be sensitive to the neighbors. But we had some tremendous teachers come in our DTS. We had Dean Sherman and Tom Hallis and Lauren Cunningham, Kalafi Moala, Bernie Ogilvie, Winky Pratney, and several other really good speakers that really fed us, and we had a fantastic time. Bruce Thompson was there as well, and had a great time in our DTS. Right up the road here, there was another staff house that Mike Borden and Shelley Leverage and several of the other staff lived in up here in Manoa Estates, while Kalafi and Lita lived down the bottom of the hill. And it was about a couple of well, maybe 12 to 16 months after that, we ended up getting the Manoa property that we're now on in Lower Manoa.
Kalafi, along with his wife Lita, had the desire to not only carry on the vision of training and sending young people to the mission field, but their hearts were stirred within them to help reach the over 16,000 hidden people groups they learned had not yet received the gospel. As Kalafi spent countless hours on the road recruiting and spreading the vision, two young couples, Tom and Cindy Bauer, along with Larry and Debbie Nicholas, helped to lay the foundation for the work in Honolulu at its new location in Lower Manoa. Kalafi realized that for the world to be truly evangelized and to reach the unreached, it would not be with short-term missions and short-term workers alone, but for many of those short-term workers to move out and pioneer by blazing new trails in some of the needy mission fields of the Pacific and Asia. And from this new vision was born Pioneer Ministries. Kalafi then began to pour into these young and yet untested wannabe missionaries an apostolic vision for actually reaching the unreached that resided in Asia, many of whom were heavily influenced by the Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and their Chinese ancestral religions. Then, in 1982, Steve Cochran took a small group of workers and pioneered the first YWAM base in India, in the ravaged city of Calcutta. Following Steve, a 20-year-old girl from California named Elizabeth Bauman pioneered YWAM in the shadows of the Himalayas, just north of India, in the country of Nepal.
They went to Nepal and they just had a fabulous time. They led people to Christ, and they started a discipleship training school, and one day with some of their people, they were off in a village up in Nepal, and there was a false report spread about them, and they got thrown in jail. It was told that they were paying people to convert to Christianity, and so they were thrown in jail, and some of our first YWAMers were thrown in jail. It was so dramatic, and we were praying for them. I think Kim and I at that time were already in the Philippines, and remember hearing about them and praying for them. God release them. And there was a court case that ensued for years afterwards, and it was a big crisis for us, but still the work of God continued. And that's the thing about many of the frontliners, is they didn't go out from this place knowing exactly what they would do and how they would do it. They didn't have sort of all their ducks in a row. But the thing that they had was the call of God on their lives to go out and do something great for God.
Tim and Carol Svoboda took on the city of Madras in southern India. Meanwhile, Eva Matheson, a Danish girl already proficient in 4 languages, teamed up with a Samoan named Sose and set their sights on the Hakka Chinese of Taiwan. Soon afterwards, Silo Schmidt, another Samoan, expanded the vision by taking it from India to pioneer a training base in Bangladesh. Dedicated to reaching the tribal groups of northeast India, Taku and Katie Longkumar went back to Taku's native Nagaland to take over the Nagaland missionary movement. Then in early 1983, Kalafi and Lita moved to Japan, where YWAM ministries and churches were launched into Chiba, Osaka, Yotsukido, and several other locations. It was at this time that the leadership of YWAM Honolulu was passed to Danny and Linda Lehman, who continued on with the vision that Kalafi had instilled in them to send out more workers to a lost and dying world.
And when the Son of Man comes, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit on his glorious throne, and he shall divide the nations before him, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats.
A few of those workers were Kevin and Kim Darrow, who carried the pioneering vision to the Philippines, where they planted a YWAM base in the church in Nagthan, Manila. While not far away, Ralph and Becky Hale pioneered a church in Bagan Barrio. A native of Suva, Neville Wilson, went back to his homeland of Fiji and pioneered a YWAM base there, while back at home in Honolulu, Danny and Linda continued to shore things up and pass on that vision of carrying the gospel to the world. Also in 1983, the Honolulu Crisis Center was established under the leadership of Foa and Marcia Fatui and prospered for many years, ministering to the poor and needy here in Paradise. Evangelism and discipleship have always been the main staples for Youth with a Mission Honolulu. Scores of short-term teams were continually being sent out on a regular basis from the discipleship training schools, schools of evangelism, and summer programs with one objective: to win souls and make them into disciples. Evangelism was done by all means possible. There was street evangelism, friendship evangelism, street preaching, puppets, drama, music, anything to communicate the good news of Jesus out to a lost and needy world.
Holy is the Lord, worthy of honor and praise.
As the 80s drew to a close, teams from Honolulu were sent to pioneer training bases all over the world. Dan and Evelyn Estep led the way by beginning a work in Delhi. While Frank and Georgianne Goebel took a team to start a work in Pakistan in '89, Paul and Wendy Flugelstad took on Mount Hagen in the highlands of Papua New Guinea.
Take a good look upward now.
In the early '90s, a new concept was born, the running of schools of evangelism in different parts of the Pacific with the design of getting more Pacific Islanders to Asia as missionaries. A young Fijian woman named Wakanesi Torunabau went through one such school on the coral coast of Vipi Levu in Fiji and pioneered a base in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. Other islanders went out from Samoa to the Indian subcontinent to reinforce the works that were continually being pioneered and multiplied there. Throughout the '90s, much reinforcement was done by sending out more and more long-term workers to previously established bases. Support for other YWAM ministries and organizations like the Mobile Ministries of the Mercy Ships and the Far East Evangelism Teams, or FEET teams, was also done. YWAM bases were established in Tahiti and the Solomon Islands, and long-term workers were sent out to Hong Kong, Thailand, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, Uzbekistan, Albania, and Russia. Well, back in Honolulu, the pioneering spirit grew as new ministries were beginning to help rally young people to the cause of the Great Commission. King's Kids, Mission Adventures, and the Nico Wilderness programs have been used to capture the attention of young people and get them stoked out on missionary work. Working together with the DTS, SOME, and the summer programs, the School of Biblical Studies helps to keep the ministry grounded in the Word of God. Meanwhile, continual evangelism goes on locally in the Hawaiian Islands. As we enter the 21st century, YWAM Honolulu is dedicated to sending out teams of young people who are busily pioneering works in Nepal, Thailand, Kyrgyzstan, and China.
Is it true today that when people pray?
From the original teams in the '80s, there are now almost 1,000 full-time missionaries serving in the Indian subcontinent alone. Discipleship training schools are now being run in over 15 languages, and over 115 ministry locations are preaching the gospel, training workers, and doing mercy ministries all over India.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Cochran, and I'm here in Pune, India. This is my home, and I never really thought that I would be out here for so long. I thought I'd come out for 2 years, and now it's been almost 18 years. And I love being a missionary. I love being in India. And through the last 18 years here in India, probably the biggest support to us has been the Honolulu base. Honolulu has just been a tremendous support. Danny has raised, thousands and thousands of dollars for our workers, for us, for our bases that we're just starting, has sent us resources, cassette tapes, teaching tapes, books. If I could contribute anything, place outside of India that helped our work in Youth of the Mission in India, I would say Honolulu has been that place. And Danny and Linda have been probably the backbones of that.
Continuing to multiply are the works started in Nepal, Bangladesh, Taiwan, Papua New Guinea, Japan, Malaysia, and Fiji, just to name a few. YWAM Honolulu exists and continues to thrive because of the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ and the power of God. God found willing vessels, to be sure, not only those who participated in the ministry, but those thousands of friends and supporters who helped along the way.
At the celebration of the 20th anniversary for YWAM Honolulu, I think the thing that impresses me the most and the thing that would be most dear to me is a declaration of God's greatness in all this. I remember seeing it start from just a few people that the world probably thought were unlearned people, and their only credentials were that of having known Jesus and believing Jesus for great things. And to see what God has done, and hundreds of lives that have been touched, nations that have been touched, and even the impact that it's had here in Honolulu is one that I know has been recorded in the book of remembrance that will be opened, and we'll all be able to rejoice with the angels at God's glory that's been seen through YWAM Honolulu.
The Moravian missionary movement had as their motto in the 18th century, "May the Lamb that was slain receive the just reward for his sufferings." By the grace of God, Jesus is getting the rewards for his sufferings, which gives us all great cause to celebrate. And in the reflection of the past 20 years, let us look ahead and continue on in the grace of God, looking not to our own interests, but to those of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.